Well, hello, and good evening, and welcome to the 2012fad.com. I will be your host this evening. My name is Charlie Bluehawk. Today is January 15th, 2011. Last night, we chatted about the sole survivor, that one person who decides to go it alone through the event, in hopes, I guess, that the rest of us who have worked and sacrificed and suffered to make a place for ourselves, a home for each other, in a new world, the world, of course, that will replace this one. I guess the sole survivor thinks that their selfishness will be rewarded by us taking him in afterwards. Well, if he turns out to be a she and she's busty and beautiful and sensuous and, a Playboy bunny, yeah, there's a pretty good chance. Anybody else, not so much. We're simply not going to reward somebody who was selfish. I think all of us have had way too much of that for now. The problem we have here now at the 2012 Fad is this. News, real news, is breaking so fast and is breaking on mainstream media outlets for the very first time. It's quite literally impossible to keep up with all the changes happening around us. These changes just keep coming, and they come faster and faster and faster. The world is being remade all around us, and reality is forcing its way into the fantasy world that the masters, the elite, the Olympians, have forced on us, have deceived us into believing. The fantasy is falling to pieces. Now, whether that actually affects the 98%, the cattle, I doubt it, frankly. I don't think anything can reach them. Again, it's that, the guy sitting in front of his big screen TV, he's got a beer in one hand, a woman in the other, he's watching the game, he's on a comfy couch. Why should he care? He's comfortable, pizza's on the way. And truly I envy those folks, but even as reality bursts around them, I frankly think they'll do everything they can to ignore it. And, God bless them for that. Now, for myself, I was reminded just yesterday of a very simple fact that all of us seem to have overlooked. In any solar system, there are suns and moons and planets and asteroids, and there's junk. Just lots of junk. Pieces of rock, frozen water, frozen gases. They're floating all through any solar system. That's just the way it is. God is great, but she's fairly untidy. Now, what we have again appeared to have forgotten is that the brown dwarf star and its 3 planets, which form their own plane, will pass through the plane of our solar system. And they're going to be bringing all this planetary junk with them as well, and a lot of that junk will be preceding them. It will arrive way ahead of the brown dwarf and its 3 planets. This means that not only will the brown dwarf star affect us, which it is already, but all that planetary junk will affect us as well in the form of really big rocks falling out of the sky and falling on top of us. Now, we're all, we, you and me, are all aware, excuse me, that lots of scientific expeditions have been storming the South Pole over the last few years. And the Vatican even has Project Lucifer. I love it. Project Lucifer, again, excuse me. Project Lucifer is a telescope of their very own they built down there, and they will not allow anyone else to use, which is, extraordinary. As I said, I spent 5 years at NASA, and I was endlessly hearing stories about astronomers going from one telescope around the world to another telescope around the world, and these folks openly share data, unless, of course, you're an astronomer working for the Vatican at Project Lucifer down in the South Pole, and then you don't talk to anybody. That, even for scientists, is bizarre. Now, at first when I heard about all these expeditions going to the South Pole, I thought it was they were going down there for this underground lake of warm water. This basically this inland sea they found beneath the ice cap, and the ice cap, of course, is like 5,000 feet thick. This inland lake was so warm and so large, it actually formed its own natural cave under the ice. It actually formed a dome. And apparently it's tens of thousands of years old, which means that it's very clean down there, very pristine. But for some reason, the exploration of that underground lake halted very suddenly, and all mention of it vanished. Then there were discoveries of several very large magnetic objects near the lake, same lake, objects whose magnetic influence was so great they could be seen from satellites in orbit. They could apparently be detected by aircraft. And then that expedition to find these magnetic objects in the South Pole was canceled. Now, birds are dropping dead out of the sky by the tens of thousands all over the world, seemingly for no reason. Fish are dying in lakes and rivers and seas all over the world, again, seemingly for no reason. And we are again reminded there is lots of space junk in orbit around the brown dwarf star, which is now so close to us, we can see it if we are in the southern hemisphere, and you look to the South Pole, and you can pretty much see it with the naked eye. So, what do all these things mean to us? Well, if lots of rocks are orbiting the brown dwarf star, and it's almost here, it means that we, the Earth, are already within the plane, the system, the solar system of that brown dwarf star, which means that those rocks are now all around us, and that some of that planetary junk is going to hit us. Now, most rocks in space are tiny, and they'll burn up in our atmosphere long before they hit the ground. But anything larger, say the size of a football field, or in this case, several football fields, those rocks will survive the trip through our atmosphere, and they will hit the Earth herself. This happens all the time. If you are, personally millions of years old, that is, you're pretty much used to it if you're that old. For you and me, it's going to be a little different. This time, it just might be the opening act of a play none of us really want to see. This time, it might be a piece of rock so big that when it hits, say, the South Pole, it will start all that ice melting. And as we talked about the other day, the ice sheet that covers the southern continent is bigger than all of North America, and it's 5,000 feet thick. And as that ice sheet, that ice continent that is several times bigger, as I say, than all of North America starts to melt, sea levels will rise, and they will rise very fast. And then what's next? Well, joy. Our planet flips. You might remember a few episodes back that I suggested to you that when your end comes, your family's end comes, it will not be sudden. It will not be quick, and it will not be painless. This is what I was talking about. As the sea levels rise, you will see it coming. You will